The great Sigmund had an excellent point. He said, well, if you examine religion, however sympathetically or unsympathetically, you're forced to notice the strong connection between the wish and the thought. The element of wish thinking is unbanishable from religion, mainly because we're the only species that definitely knows that one by one we're going to die. To give someone the suggestion that maybe an exception could be made in their own case is making a fairly obvious offer.
Death. This is tremendously important to think about. We put it off. Death is swept under the carpet in our culture. In the hospital, they try to keep you alive as long as possible in utter desperation. They won't tell you that you're going to die. They, when their relatives have to be informed that it's a hopeless case, they say, don't tell this to the patient. And all the relatives come around with hollow grins and say, well, you'll be all right in about a month, and then we'll go and have a holiday somewhere and sit by the sea and listen to the birds and whatnot. And the dying person knows that this is mockery. Well, of course, we've made death howl with all kinds of ghouls. We've invented dreadful afterlives. I mean, the Christian version of heaven is as abominable as the Christian version of hell. I mean, nobody wants to be in church forever. Children are absolutely horrified when they hear these hymns which say, prostrate before thy throne to lie and gaze on thee. They can't imagine what this imagery means. So the idea of what might happen after death, well, you're going to be faced with your judge. The one who knows all about you. This is Big Papa, who knows you were a naughty boy and a very naughty girl, especially girl, from the beginning of things. He's going to look right through to the core of your inauthentic existence. And what kind of heebie-jeebies may come up. Or you may believe in reincarnation, and you think that your next life will be the rewards and the punishments of what you've done in this life. And you know you've got away with murder in this life. And of course, awful things are going to happen next time around. So you look upon death as a catastrophe. Then there are other people who say, well, when you're dead, you're dead. Just nothing going to happen at all. So what you ought to worry about? Well, we don't quite like that idea, because it spooks us. You know, what's it be like to die? To go to sleep and never wake up? Well, a lot of things it's not going to be like. It's not going to be like being buried alive. It's not going to be like being in the darkness forever. I tell you what, it's going to be like as if you never had existed at all. Not only you, but everything else as well. That just there was never anything, and there's no one to regret it. And there's no problem. Well, think about that for a while. It's kind of a weird feeling you get when you really think about that. You really imagine it. Just to stop altogether. And you can't even call it stop, because you can't have stop without start. And there wasn't any start. There's just no thing. Well, then when you come to think of it, that's the way it was before you were born. I mean, if you go back in memory, as far as you can go, you get to the same place. As you go forward in your anticipation of the future as to what it's going to be like to be dead. Then you get these funny ideas that this blankness is the necessary counterpart of what we call being.
Because Becker points out it's not only the fact that you're going to die, It's not only the fact that you know that death can occur at any time for reasons that can't be anticipated or controlled. Now what he does is, following Freud, he says, you know what? There's another problem, and that's that you're an animal. You're a breathing piece of defecating, urinating, vomiting, expectorating, perspiring, menstruating, ejaculating, exfoliating, somebody stop me, postnasal dripping. You're a piece of meat, and you're no more significant or enduring than a cucumber or a cockroach, and you know those things. Well, Becker's point is that the ongoing awareness of the reality of the human condition, that you are mortal, that you are vulnerable, that you're a cold cut with an attitude, spam with a plan, without the can, a talking sausage, does not sit well with the average human being, and that in fact we would literally be paralyzed with abject terror if that's all we thought about. Think about that for a moment. Well, maybe don't think about that, but the point is, if that's all you thought about, I'm gonna die, I could walk outside and get stricken by a meteor, meet with a beat, you would not be sitting here with any modicum of psychological equanimity. You would be a quivering blob of biological protoplasm cowering under the table, groping for a Valium the size of a Buick.
The body was about to fall. Zarathustra, however, remained standing, and just beside him fell the body, badly injured and disfigured, but not yet dead. After a while, consciousness returned to the shattered man, and he saw Zarathustra kneeling beside him. "What are you doing there?" he said at last. "I knew long ago that the devil would trip me up. Now he drags me to hell. Will you prevent him?" "On my honor, my friend," answered Zarathustra, "there is nothing in all of what you speak. There is no devil and no hell. Your soul will be dead always, sooner than your body. Fear, therefore, nothing anymore." The man looked up distrustfully. "If you speak the truth," he said, "I lose nothing when I lose my life. I am not much more than an animal which has been taught to dance by blows and scanty fare." "Not at all," said Zarathustra. "You have made danger your calling, and in that there is nothing contemptible. Now you perish by your calling. Therefore, I will bury you with my own hands." When Zarathustra had said this, the dying one did not reply further, but he moved his hands as if he sought the hand of Zarathustra in gratitude.
Hubble notice, it's speeding up, it's getting faster all the time. All subsequent experiments have shown this. In fact, if we hadn't discovered the Big Bang when we did, and we were trying for it now, examining the red light, some of that evidence would already have blown past us. If you can get your mind around this, as around Sir Martin Rees's imagery of cosmic future. Professor Haldane used to say the universe is not just stranger than we imagine, it's stranger than we can imagine, but we know this much, that it's blasting apart very, very fast. A great deal of nothingness is certainly coming to us. There's an enormous amount of nothingness in our future. And even if we aren't prepared to wait for that, or to wait for species change to overtake us, we can see already in the night sky the Andromeda galaxy on collision course with our own. That's certainly going to happen. Whether we destroy ourselves or the sun blows up or not before that, probably not. Collision course. Now, is this part of a plan? We're starting to have to ask ourselves. Is that part of a plan? If so, whose plan is it? That so much nothingness is built right in and is headed straight for us.
I wouldn't say that atheism was morally inferior. I wouldn't concede that for a second. I don't want to make a claim for its superiority either, but there may be a slight edge here. We don't believe anything that could be called wishful. In other words, we don't particularly welcome the idea of the annihilation either of ourselves as individuals, the party will go on and we'll have left and we're not coming back, or of the entropic heat death of the universe. We don't like the idea, but there's a good deal of evidence to suggest that that is what's going to happen. And there's very, very little evidence to suggest that I'll see you all again in some theme park one nice and one nasty experience. There's absolutely no evidence for that at all, so I'm willing to accept, on the evidence, conclusions that may be unwelcome to me. I'm sorry if I sound as if I'm spelling that out.
Second, that it seems to deal in absolutes, that it appears to want us to think of a God who is in some way or another a dictator in this world, and if this one should prove disappointing, I think you used the word dress rehearsal, the term dress rehearsal, a mere ante-room. If you think this is unfair, if you think this is discrepant, if you think this is irrational, why do the evil prosper? Why do the good get trampled underfoot and left behind? Never mind. Once you've squeezed with agony through the keyhole of death, there's another whole world where all that will be put right, where every tear will be dried and every injustice compensated, which, if it was true, would be a terrible exercise in sadomasochism. Why put a bunch of rats into a labyrinth of torture? See how they do, surprise them with new rules, even bigger surprise when you squeeze them through that last gap. Now we have you, and now you're due for a verdict against which there is no appeal. We don't have any excuse for dicking around, excuse me, on this point. We do have a lot better information. We do know a lot now about the nature of our species internally, our kinship with other creatures, our origin in common with them, the fact that we have been lucky enough, or not lucky enough, because that's solipsism in itself, to be not among the 99.9% of species so far to have occurred on this planet who have become extinct. Right? Some design, by the way, that is that we live on a planet that is the only one that isn't either too hot or too cold, just in our speck of the solar system, to support life, and very large parts of our planet are too hot or too cold to do that, even now. And we live, as we increasingly understand, on a climatic knife edge. What kind of design is this? My point is, if you want to derive ethics and morals from reality, from human solidarity, from actual knowledge of where we stand in relation to the universe, it may not be too depressing to realize that we are in fact alone in this. We can't pray supernatural aid. We can't invoke what we don't know. We're arrogant and vain when we do it. It tempts us into saying that we're better than people of other faiths or other religions. And that if we understood we were all stranded on a rather difficult shore, born into a losing struggle, with every day of our lives being more and more subtracted from less and less, the stoicism of that conclusion might make us turn towards each other in a more interested and definite way, and would demonstrate more integrity and would free us from the great retardant of human civilization, the realm of illusion.